As used in line 6, embraced most nearly means what? You'll notice I've covered up the choices here because this is a words and phrases in context question. And what I want to do for it is find the word as it's being used in context and then make a prediction about what I think its meaning is, and then test that prediction against the choices. This is an elegant, fast way to do it. I'm going to show you two methods for taking on questions like these. So let's look for the word embraced on line 6 and see how it's being used. Okay, here we are. The sentence starts on line 5. Others have accepted the ethical critique and embraced corporate social responsibility. So embraced literally means hug, but that's not what's happening here. I'm going to say that the way that it's being used in that context means said yes to. So I'm going to cross out embraced and write said yes to. And then let's expose the choices and see if anything matches said yes to. All right, so we've got lovingly held. Again, not a literal hug. B, readily adopted. That could be. Readily adopted kind of feels like said yes to. Eagerly hugged. No, it's not a literal physical hug. Or D, reluctantly used. Well, there's no reluctance in saying yes to something with the context of embrace. So it is indeed readily adopted. Something that you've picked up readily, meaning like willingly or enthusiastically. So that's my first option, because you saw how quickly that went. But let's imagine that I didn't have a good prediction, or my prediction didn't work. So now the second way that we test the choices is we plug the choices back into the context to see if they make sense. So instead of embraced in context in line 6, we say, others have embraced the ethical critique and lovingly held corporate social responsibility, which doesn't really work for me. Or we could say others have accepted the ethical critique and readily adopted corporate social responsibility. That makes sense to me, and if I weren't already sure that were the answer, that would make me feel certain. What are the other ones? So it's others have, others have reluctantly used corporate social responsibility, and those don't make the same kind of sense as readily adopted. So those are the two methods that I would recommend to you. The one that I find faster is when you go directly to the text, come up with your own definition, and then test that definition against the other options. But if your prediction doesn't work the way you hoped it did, then just take the choices and plug them back into the context. So wherever it says embraced, say lovingly held, readily adopted, eagerly hugged, reluctantly used, and figure out from then which feels right. You're going to have to trust your gut on this one. Those are two of the techniques that I would recommend for vocabulary or words and phrases in context questions on the reading section of the SAT.